is a host of a very popular CBS show called Lucky Dog, and he is a expert in animal care, and also a trainer, I believe. But we're gonna go ahead and introduce him, Brandon McMillan. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
All right, so, and also we have a special furry guest in house, Sandy.
Sandy, say hi.
Right. Brandon, thank you so much.
Sleeping.
I know already.
And if you don't see me
It's
off
probably
call,
your
I'm just going
feet
down
smell
there.
or something. I don't know.
I was going to say, that's not a good start for you. You've already got one person sleeping.
I know. Well, I usually, I'm halfway through, I pass out. So, well, welcome to the show. And I think you're the first time we've ever had a person bring a furry pet. And I like that because I love dogs. I grew up in Kansas, in the country. And so we had horses and cats and dogs and all that stuff. And I know where we're from, we didn't have the animal experts other than vets, and we didn't have any animal trainers. So first, where are you from originally?
I was born in New Jersey, but I'm kind of from everywhere because my father was a lion tamer in the circus. So
Oh, wow.
Wow. I was going to say, how did you get into this? But now that explains it
that's
all.
exactly how I got into it. Yeah, I mean, my father was a lion tamer in the Ringling Brothers Circus, so I was born and raised in that. That's where I got my foundation, how to train animals. And
Wow, that's great. You know, I always, as a kid, we used to always go see the Ringling Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, that goes right into a question then, because you teach animal training, but back in the day, circuses always didn't get a good rap.
They didn't get a good rap back then or now.
Yeah, and so what did you see that made you want to get into this, and where you wanted to train animals in a different way?
Well, I ran away from home at 15,
Oh.
and when I was 18, I started training animals for the movies and television and commercials.
Wow, ran away at 15, and by 18 you were already training.
Yeah, exactly. And so, because I had such a big background in it. So when
Wow.
I was 18, I actually had more experience than 30 and 40-year-olds in the business. So when I was 18, by the time I was about 20, 21, I was already running the company.
What was your first animals that you trained?
But when I was a kid, tigers and bears and elephants, you name it.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what's the difference between an elephant or a tiger? There has to be a certain type of difference in training.
Oh, absolutely. Cats are, big cats
Uh-huh.
are just 500-pound house cats. So think about your house cat. A house cat, it's not like training a dog.
Right.
House cats, you got to have a really good reason for that cat to want to do anything.
Right.
And patience.
Dogs are kind of sellouts. They'll do whatever you want.
Okay.
They'll give you the puppy eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll fall for it. Cats are very intelligent animals. They're survivalists.
Wow. And so elephants, what about elephants?
Elephants are probably the smartest animals in the world, smarter than humans. They're one of the only
and more
animals.
passionate, I'm sure, too.
Yeah, exactly. They're one of the only animals in the world that we know of. There probably is more, but that actually has some sort of a memorial ritual
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
the
when
dead fall.
when one
I've
dies.
heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, they're a very tight knit animal with their community. Very social.
And
and
matriarchal, no? It's matriarchal.
They're matriarchal. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of animal societies are matriarchal.
So what causes elephants? Because you hear about attacks or with elephants and the when they snap. What do you think makes them snap?
They're
just
bad trainers.
Bad trainers.
Bad trainers. Yeah. Bad trainers create bad animals.
It's
And,
like pet owners. Bad pet owners create bad
Exactly.
pets. It's never the pet.
Exactly. And so and that's why I always say, because they say there are no bad dogs, just bad owners.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not agree with that even more, because let's say hypothetically you do have a dog that is aggressive.
Right.
Let's say you can't break it, you've tried everything. Well, if you know that, then why would you take that dog to a park? You could create
Amen
a
to
fight. That causes you to be a bad owner. If
Right.
you know that dog will get into a fight and potentially do harm to another dog.
Right.
know?
And
So
you
it is
see
up
that
to
all
I've
the
you.
seen
time.
that. I've seen that. At
Exactly.
Dog
So that's why I totally agree with that. There are no bad dogs. There are no bad pets. There are just bad owners. It's very true, because I've had dogs in the past where I knew they had their shortcomings in some areas. I had this one dog. It didn't like kids. I wasn't walking it through a playground every day.
Right.
That would
Here, pet my dog.
Exactly. That would make me a bad owner.
Right.
It's like a friend of mine brought. He just adopted 2 dogs and brought them to my house, and so I opened the door. Luckily, he had them on leash, and of course, my cat, who passed away 2 years ago from cancer, but my eldest cat, he loves dogs, so he ran to the door to greet the dogs, and one of the dogs went, and luckily he got out of the way, and he just nicked his ear. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Actually, I just wanted to see what they would be like with cats."
Okay, so
that would fall under the
I'm
bad
sorry?
owner category.
Yeah. So what do you percentage? I hate to even get this negative, but what percentage do you think of people out there that are bad owners, or maybe just don't have the knowledge?
Well,
of
I don't really know percentage.
Most.
I will. I hate to have to agree, but a lot of people are very oblivious to their own animal. They're in denial,
And they let them do whatever.
That was my next point. A lot of people reward bad behavior.
right.
And a lot of people, they just want to chance it. Oh, my dog is, he's good, most of the time. Well, if it's good most of the time, that means there's a small percentage of the time he's not, and yet you continue to, chance it and risk it. Unless you are 100% sure, I'm saying, I wouldn't risk it. And that's part of being a good owner and a good trainer. Sometimes you only get so far, I mean, I've had so many dogs over the years that I've raised and I've trained, and sometimes you can't get these little issues out of them.
Right.
I'm not going to chance it. I'm not going to. That's part of being a good owner. Part of being a good trainer is taking responsibility. Okay, I know this dog has his shortcomings in this area. I'm not going to risk it.
Also, isn't it like in a household? Also, isn't it like you can have one person who's trying to train the dogs, but then if the others let them get away with stuff, it's confusing for the dog.
Exactly. I was at this sidewalk cafe a couple years ago, and this woman had this dog. It was barking out of control, just excessive barking. And people that were at the restaurant, they were just getting really annoyed, and people were starting to leave. And the woman's tactic, how to keep the dog quiet, was every time it barked, she'd give it a treat.
Well, no wonder.
That's basic conditioning. That's how in the film industry.
I get it.
In the film industry, that's how we taught the bark. Every time you bark, we'd give you a treat, and we would get the dogs to bark on command. And this woman.
God.
But that's my point. A lot of it's oblivious people.
Wow. I guess the old saying is, you have to get a driver's license to drive a car and marriage license to get married, but to own a pet, you can get a license, but it doesn't mean you know how to raise them.
And you know what? And that's kind of what Lucky Dog is based on. I really like to educate people. Okay, look, these are every dog that I rescue from a shelter, it's got different issues. I never know. I mean, it really is a box of chocolates every time I rescue a dog from the shelter. I don't know anything about these dogs. The only thing I know is what it looks like and pretty much how old it is. And everything starts unfolding as the days go on. And so my show, Lucky Dog, is very educational to just about every problem out there, How
was Lucky Dog started? Was it something you created, or was it something that you auditioned
Well, technically,
for?
it was a team effort. It was I did a project years ago called the Death Row Dogs Project, and basically I'd rescue dogs from death row that were getting euthanized pretty much that day.
Oh, wow.
And I turned them into movie stars and service dogs and stuff. And so when I was approached about Lucky Dog, they said, great minds think alike. We want to document what you do because we want to do a show just like that. And so, in comes Lucky Dog, and it was just, we never saw it coming, but people loved it. They gravitated to it. And I really think one of the main reasons why is because it's a real show. There is no BS with this show.
Right.
We're not faking anything. We're not, there's no drama overacting. I'm only going off what the dogs are giving me.
Right.
And we're never going to run out of content. We never will because no two dogs are alike. It's like a thumbprint. You know what I'm saying? And every time I rescue a dog, it's a different story. History, of this dog is amazing. I can always figure out what happened to it. Like I said, it just starts unfolding as the episode goes along, as the days go along. I start realizing, wow, you went through this, you know what I'm saying? You were beaten with a leash, you're hand shy because someone struck you, you know what I'm saying? Now I have to wipe away the past and repaint the canvas.
Yeah, it took us a long time because if my foot would go anywhere near him, he'd run.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're walking next to me.
He was probably kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always, one of the first things I do with a lot of shelter dogs is I lift my hand as if I'm going to strike them, and I actually make a noise and try to. Yeah. Now, the ones that really flinch and drop to the ground, they were hit. You know what I'm saying? They were definitely hit, because if the dog's never been hit before, they don't know what
like,
this, my hand lifting up. They don't know what that is. Exactly. I mean, Sandy, my boy under the table right here, if I did that to him, he'd look at me like, what the hell are you doing?
He's a cutie. He's a
stupid
golden retriever.
He's a golden retriever. Yeah.
yeah.
He was at the
Beautiful.
shelter. Owner dumped him off.
How could see when you? That's what I mean. I love dogs. I love dogs. I couldn't imagine having a pet, falling in love with a pet, and just going,
You know what? As they get older, I fall in love with them more. There was it a few months ago, the north of here, the guy, his dog ended up, he was 10 years old or something, and he went to the shelter and handed him in because he was too old now. He wanted to get a puppy.
Oh, yeah.
And the dog died.
I wish there was a shelter for people like that.
I know,
dog-
right?
the
That's
dog-
right.
the
I hope
dog
he didn't
died
have
after-
I
elder
would throw away
parents.
throw away the keys.
Right.
The
Then we'll
dog
call
was
it-
shaking for a few days and died.
Well,
Yeah,
probably
of course.
heartbroken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
grief. You know
Grief.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
We'll do a scissor reel and we'll call it Death Row for Dumbasses.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'll run that division. No
There's
problem.
a lot of people that would.
You know?
So as a
The amount of money backing you get on a project
oh my
like
God.
that.
You had tons. Well, it's like everybody. Every person has their own talents. When you start training a dog, especially if you get a service dog, how do you start kind of seeking out to see what their talents are? If you're prepping them for a movie or something like that, or wanting to see if they have a talent to maybe become an actor dog or actor animal.
For example, Sandy, now he's right next to me. He is a golden retriever. Now, it's in the name, the golden retriever. They're natural retrievers. That's what they were bred for.
Of gold?
Over
I'm
100.
teasing.
What's that?
Gold?
Of gold?
Exactly. So, but that's what they were
Sporting
bred
dogs.
for originally. And so, what makes the golden retriever so special? Not only the fact it's a good retriever, but when the other retrievers, they have a much more powerful grip. Now, the golden retriever is known for the very soft grip. So I can teach him to retrieve very practical objects now. Now, it's not just as easy. You see, if I throw a tennis ball or a toy or a rope, he's going to naturally go run after that. But if I throw a pair of keys or sunglasses or my cell phone, he's going to look at me like, you're an idiot.
I'm right.
So I have to do a process called bridging. So what I do is I take little strips of the tennis ball and I attach it to the keys. Now he's going to pick up that little strip of tennis ball and he's going to be dragging the keys around. Well, what I start doing is I start cutting little pieces of the tennis ball, the original tennis ball, away to where now there's almost no tennis ball in there. He's grabbing more of the keys. That's the process it's a process called bridging. So from there, once I get him off his original, love, the tennis ball, the toy, now I can go to objects like keys, cell phones, sunglasses, you name it. And so that's why he's so good at service now, because the gentleman he's going to, he's a wounded military veteran. He stepped on an IED in Afghanistan.
Wow.
The improvised explosive device. Both of his legs are missing,
major damage,
and his right arm is bent at a 90-degree angle with major nerve damage, so he can't use it. He's got one working limb. So technically, he really cannot lean over. If he was standing on his prosthetics, he can't just lean over and pick something up. If he drops it, he drops the keys.
A golden retriever would be a great dog.
Sandy is now trained to retrieve things, pick things up for him, and hand it right to him. Furthermore, he's trained in what's called stability. It's a pretty much advanced version of service dog.
Right.
And what they do is every step you go up, curb, step, the dog is trained to stop, stiffen its body up. You say the word brace, you can push on his shoulders and help yourself up each step, much like a cane. A cane is only 1 point hitting the ground. A dog is 4 points hitting the ground.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Well, I'm going to bring Eddie in because Eddie is a psychic. I know you're not a pet psychic.
No, I'm not. No,
but
believe me, I'm not Caesar Milan either.
Yeah, but no, I just think it's fascinating because I've never had one, but one of our shows had a pet psychic on. But I think people like yourself and certain people have an intuitive with being able to speak with animals. You just know what they're thinking. They know what you're thinking. Have you felt that with certain dogs or certain people or certain pets that you've worked with, that you just kind of knew what this dog was thinking? Or
it's not that I have. Well, I mean, I know what my Chihuahua's thinking. She's usually saying, "Feed me."
Yes, exactly.
Doesn't take a psychic to figure that one out.
Cats show themselves.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Food.
Exactly. So
There's an hour to go. Shut it.
it's not that I think. It's not that I have. It's not that I really think that I have some special power or some intuition. It's just experience. I've technically been doing this for 37 years. That's how old I am. And
the baby.
Yeah. So, but after 37 years, it's taught me a few things.
Right.
And good dog trainers, good dog trainers are experienced dog trainers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they, learned, it's not that they read a book. It's not that they trained a couple dogs. Good dog trainers have seen this one problem, hundreds of times in its career. You know what I'm saying? I've seen so many problems and solved the same issues over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Now when I see it, I can solve it quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
As
you just
opposed
know
to,
what to do.
I don't learn on the job. I don't
Right.
learn. So when people call me with a problem saying, oh, my dog is doing this or that, I don't
Right.
go over there and experiment. I don't experiment on your dog. I know exactly how to solve the issue because I've dealt with it and I've seen it and I've solved it hundreds, if not thousands of times at this point. And that's what I really believe good dog trainers are made of. They're made of experience. You know what I'm saying? You've got to pay your dues and solve those problems. You can't just read a book or train a few dogs and say, I'm a good dog trainer.
Go ahead.
Oh, don't you think also you have to have what you do, a passion for it and a love of it at the same time to be an exceptional dog trainer?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Because
you got to be passionate about anything you
Absolutely.
do. I mean, when I was younger, I mean, all I did was surf. I surfed every single day, and I was like set out to be a pro surfer. I was so passionate about it, and then, once you get 6'3", you realize most pro surfers are not that tall. You weren't that good in the first place.
I was like, wow, I didn't realize you were as tall as you
My
are.
point was I was passionate about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
animals, I mean, I've always been passionate about. And so, but the cool thing is, as my career goes on, I want to make money off helping animals and people now. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to earn one dime anymore without knowing that I not only helped an animal but a person in the process. So, and that's what really set me on the path to service dogs. And Lucky Dog is technically based on that.
Right.
It's based on helping people, whether it's a service dog or just a lot of these people. It's really interesting. You hear their stories in the show, and something is, it doesn't sound so amazing until you see it in the show. Like maybe a wife got divorced from her husband after 30 years, and now she's alone and she wants a dog. I mean, when you see the moment happen, you realize that dogs, they really are special things in our lives.
And now, so the Lucky Dog, give us what we were just saying. What is like a episode? So people that have not seen it, what is like an episode? What do you do? Is it taking a service dog to a family, or how does it work?
No, I every episode I rescue one dog from a shelter. I save a life. I technically give it a second chance. Now from there, I assess it. I evaluate it. And I find out what it knows, and more importantly, what it doesn't know. And then from there, I teach it. Basic obedience, which I call the 7 common commands. I call it the 7 common commands because technically my 7 common commands are sit, stay, down, come, off, heel, and no. Now, the reason why I call it the common commands is because if you think about it, those 7 commands are the most common commands you will tell your dog every single day. Right. I'm not telling my dog to roll over every day or paw. I want my dogs to know the most important commands to keep them out of the shelters forever. Most people, they teach the dog to roll over first before they teach basic obedience. Yeah. And so that's why I really focus on the 7 common commands. So anyway, from there, once I assess and I evaluate the dog, then I work out the issues. Now, it doesn't take more than a few days for the dogs to start showing me one card at a time. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you're a marker. I've seen around my house, I've seen little P marks, here and there that weren't there a few days ago.
Right.
Or you're a chewer, you're a counter surfer, you're a door dasher. I mean, you name it. We've got every problem under the sun. I've seen them all. At Lucky Dog Ranch. From there, I solve the issues. Then I go do a home visit and see good potentials. Who could be good for this dog.
So you're evaluating.
Oh, absolutely, the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
I don't just dump the dog at the doorstep
good.
of the first person I find.
Right.
No, I want to make sure that they are adequate for the dog. They're going to provide that dog as good as a life as the dog is going to give to them. And then I realize a few things about their life. This one woman, I said, "What do you do? For fun?" That's a very common question I ask these people. And she says, she kept saying, stand up paddleboarding. That's all I do, And I'm like, all right, cool. So basically, when you're not home, you're in the ocean stand up paddleboarding. Got it. Well, what I did, she didn't know I was doing this. I actually taught her dog, the potential dog, to stand up paddleboarding.
No, you didn't.
Yep. And you'll see that.
Great.
You'll see that actually on this season of Lucky Dog. And the best part about that dog, Her name is Cora. She was a senior. She's an 8-year-old Doberman mix.
Oh, I love this.
Senior dog. And so, people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I beg to differ because I prove it time and again on Lucky Dog. And not only did I teach an old dog new tricks, but that's a trick that a lot of young dogs couldn't learn. And so, I really I shut people up on that one.
I love Dobermans.
I never want to hear that word, that phrase. You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
They say that about me all the time. So
exactly.
Is there a certain breed that's more difficult to train than others? Because
there are stubborn, kind of known stubborn breeds. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which I won't name, but
you don't want to hurt any feelings.
Exactly. But I will say this: there are breeds that love to work, and there are breeds that hate to work.
Just like humans.
Exactly. Now I can give you a really simple scientific example. If you look at the different styles of breeds out there, there's like the working breeds, the sporting breeds, the toy breeds. The working breeds like to work, and the herding breeds like to work. But the toy breeds, like the lap dogs,
right?
Generally, they're not the best workers. You can teach them the basics and all that stuff.
Yeah. Tell me when it's done. Tell me when it's done.
If they were bred to be a lap dog, you know what I'm saying, you kind of expect them to sit on a lap, and that's a trick.
Have you ever heard of Duke, the black lab?
No, who's that?
Duke. Actually, it was if you ever back in the day on Winchester. It was a black lab, and my sister married into the family that owned Duke, and he was a black lab, and they taught him how to shoot a gun, and to go retrieve.
Is that safe?
It was not real. I mean, it was like a. I think I'm sure by years it probably shouldn't have done it, but it would shoot a gun, and then it would go out and retrieve the duck. I mean, and Winchester actually made him the spokesperson for their brands.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always say if you give a chimp a gun and the chimp shoots somebody, you don't blame the chimp.
They're like, the chimp just But that's what I'm saying. It's when you see people that train certain animals to do stuff. Do you also not advocate, but do you also stand up against the bad trainers? Do you ever speak up, not necessarily like against another trainer, but to go and what am I trying to say?
Rehabilitate.
Yeah, rehabilitate the damage
done.
that they did. Because there's so many trainers out there that don't know what they're doing.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Apparently, you know how to treat a dog. You know how to take the techniques that need to be taught to these animals. But there's so many out there. Do you ever have a lot of people come and bring their animals?
I've cleaned up a lot of messes out there.
Yeah, I bet.
I've cleaned up a lot of messes for people that are very famous animal trainers right now.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I know a few that I've heard a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, look, the fact is, like I always say, training dogs, it's all about paying your dues. Mm-hmm. You don't learn this stuff over a year or two. It takes decades.
Yeah.
And the reason why it takes decades is because, like I said, you have to see the problems hundreds of times to get good at solving them. You can't be learning on the clock.
Right.
I know so many trainers that they just started training 6 months ago, and they're charging huge amounts of money, you know what I'm saying? And they're training aggressive dogs. I'm like, you are not equipped. You know what I'm saying? You are not equipped to step in that world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, and my thing is a lot of these people that train, they use tactics that are aggressive that I don't necessarily agree in. So how do you train these dogs? Do you with love, with aggression, with discipline? How do you actually
capitalize? You got to capitalize on their strengths. The first thing you do is you find out what they're good at. Mm-hmm. Capitalize on their strengths, meaning, like, for example, Sandy here. He is a retriever. Mm-hmm. I capitalize on what he's naturally good at, and I make it fun for them.
See, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a kid.
Exactly. And I've got certain techniques that that's really, I've never seen another trainer use, like the double leash techniques, the double leash lock offs and stuff like that.
So what is it?
It's called the double leash lock off, where I use
double leash.
I use 2 collars and I use 2 leashes. One leash is to the back collar that locks off on a pole, and the front. I mean, it's easier to show you. And the front.
We could try with well.
But technically, that gives me control first before I train. I think a big mistake that a lot of people make when they're training their dogs is they're trying to train the out of control dog. Now they're like, well, that's kind of a catch-22. You know,
right.
My dog's out of control. I'm trying to train it. Well, the best way to get control is with a leash. Now you have to lock that leash off somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to train an out of control dog and it's just running around the house, you want to lock that leash off on something. Now you've got him. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like putting a kid in a classroom in a desk. Now I've got you in the desk. Now I'm going to teach you math.
Oh, wow.
But training the dog while it's running around, you know, zipping around you, it's kind of like holding a kite.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You never know which way
Exactly.
it's going to be.
Exactly. You know, and really find out what makes them pay attention, what makes them focus. It might not be food. A lot of dogs, it's toys. I have one dog. I train him to do backflips. It's one of the very few dogs in the world that can actually do backflips.
I was going to say, how do you train a dog to do a backflip?
I featured it on Lucky Dog last season.
Wow, I have to go check the archives out.
My point is, I didn't use any food. He's a total. I mean, he's a lunatic for a tennis ball. That's all he wants to do is chase a tennis ball. He does not care about food. He doesn't care about toys, ropes, nothing. You hold a tennis ball up. I mean, it looks like you've just held like the Hope Diamond up. You know what I'm saying? What is that?
Oh, ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Ball.
My
Yeah,
precious, my precious.
I that's what I love about. I mean, I like cats. I don't dislike cats, but I love dogs because I
love them equally.
Good for you. But I just I really love
seriously,
dogs because of that innocence about them. You know, cats they don't
Ty?
have. Well, Ty was a dog. He had a cat that was just seriously was like a dog. It was just
He ran to the door whenever anybody came and walked them to the couch. He would look after the dogs. He would let the other two cats nurse on him and look after them. He was just a complete.
He was like a dog.
Caregiver.
But I just think the
So
loyalty and the innocence of dogs are so wonderful when somebody hasn't abused them. But even the abused ones, I think with a love, because I've always been a person that for some reason dogs just love me. I've had friends that had dogs that were just mean and bite people, and within 10 minutes they're sitting there licking me, and they're like, how did you? I'm like, I just go up and pet them.
Because your last name's Sweet.
Yeah, you know. But I just think, you know, if people are just patient and again, let them come to you and don't invade their insecurity and their space, I think most people can attach to a dog very easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just hit the nail on the head too. You got to let them come to you.
Yeah,
you know, especially if a dog with some sort of history that you know it might be a little dark past. The worst thing you can do is corner that dog.
Yeah.
I learned that in the wild animal world that a cornered animal will fight for its life. It's no different with a dog. Years ago I used to train ex-fighter pit bulls.
Oh, wow.
And I learned a lot of powerful lessons training these dogs because they were, trained to fight and they did it very well. You know what I'm saying? And
it's the
often
bait ones that I feel so sad for.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the first lessons I learned is never corner it. Never corner it, because now it's going to fight for its life. It has no options.
And I had a friend in Kansas City that actually had a pigtail macaque, a monkey, and I was there from I don't agree with people having exotic animals because people really don't know how to raise them. But I was there from the time he was a baby. I was the dominant. I was the alpha male because I was the male around it. And after about 8 or 9 years old, he ended up attacking his mama, my friend Kathy, because he was going through the puberty, and he ended up she was cornered for 2 hours in the room. She couldn't get out because every time she tried to get out, he would attack her. Finally, she get out, and then it was like he snapped and went back to like this. Oh, I'm so sorry, mother, and she had to get rid of him because she was scared of him from that point on.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, and just have a few more minutes, but could you tell us some of the advice to people out there listening in today or on the podcast later? Give some advice for those people that are seeking to get even a dog, cat, or even exotic animal. Give them some advice of how to prepare for it and or even not to do it if they're this type of a person. So could you give some advice that can probably possibly save a life or save a
Well,
pet?
I mean, I always say when you rescue any animal, take your time, really feel it out. Don't just do knee-jerk reactions. Don't do don't get a dog off what they physically look like.
Right.
Aesthetics, they go away very quickly because
yeah.
I always say go off temperament. Temperament is very important. Sandy right next to me is just about the most perfect, mild-mannered, temperament you could possibly get in a dog. That's what I seeked out in him when I scouted him at the shelter. I didn't look at it at the fact he was a golden retriever.
Right.
I wouldn't care if he was the ugliest dog in the world. Temperament is the most important part because temperament temperament makes your life a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have a lot of problems right now with aggressive dogs, and I think one of the main reasons why is, number one, they don't take their time when they rescue it. Number two, they rescue a lot of dogs off aesthetics.
Right.
People like this idea of a tough dog, and the worst part about it, that is whenever you have, a big strong dog and you try your best to make it tougher, you might not like the results. You know what I'm saying? So it's much better this day and age to go for temperament, go for the sweet animal, because
But
that's what I'm
it's
for.
like
Yeah.
it's like having a kid. You can rescue what everyone's calling the most ugliest dog, but when you fall in love with that dog, it's the most beautiful dog to you anyway.
Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, here I am. I have a Chihuahua. I made fun of Chihuahuas for
6'3".
years. man.
6'3",
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a little Chihuahua.
I was that guy. I was like, I would never have a
In
Chihuahua.
fact, it's in his pocket right now.
Exactly. And then suddenly one day I rescued my Chihuahua with the idea I was going to find her a home. This was like 5 years ago. Well, it's been 5 years. I just haven't found anyone.
Not good enough. Not good enough. Well, how can
No one's good
Right.
enough for my little Lulu.
how can people follow you on Twitter? What's your Twitter?
At Brandon McMillan.
That's easy. And you can go to animalexpertbrandonmcmillan.com.
Yep. Or canineminded.com.
And I think I'd put this down. Where is it? On the local channel. Where is it? Is it KCBS at 7 a.m. on Saturday?
No, we'll check your local. No, in LA here it's 9 a.m.
9 a.m.? Okay.
CBS, yeah.
Oh, CBS. Oh, that's
CBS.
right. That's right.
Do you live
And-
in LA?
Just that little network.
Just a little one. Just a little network. Well, I looked on their website and it said 7. That's why I was like 7 a.m. But make sure you check it out. I'm usually not up that early, but I'm going to check it out myself because I do want to get some pets in the future. Growing up, I had so many pets, and since I've lived in LA, I have not had a pet because I want to have time to spend with it. I'm not one of these people that just wants to leave it in an apartment, all day long without me there.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's right or fair, because I've had some people friends of mine do that, and I just don't think it's fair. But for the people that are listening, make sure you do this wisely, and make sure you're smart about this, because this is important that people like Brandon that have the knowledge to how to treat an animal, how to prepare it for a family that needs, because I say need because most people need a pet, just because humans don't treat each other very well. And I think you're doing such a great job, and we appreciate having you here and sharing your experience. I really appreciate it.
That's what keeps me going.
And better not to adopt than to adopt and then abandon because you made the wrong choice.
Amen to that.
That's pretty much what Lucky Dog is based of. It's an informational show. So if you have any questions on how to train a dog, or the proper protocol, how to take care of an animal, just tune into Lucky Dog on CBS, and it really covers pretty much everything.
Yeah, and like I said, I think we need more and more shows like yourself, that just because we need it. We need information. We have a show here on Sunday mornings called Animal Magnetism with Carolyn Hennessy, and hers is mostly about big animals, and so I think the more we can have it's got like an encyclopedia, going to Lucky Dog or listen to Animal Magnetism, I think it's important to have these shows.
Yeah, because I think it's been proven people would rather watch TV than read a book. So
right, yeah. Well, people with ADD like myself, I have to watch television because a pamphlet bores me. So, all right. Well, thank you so much
Thank you
for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. We hope you come back, and next time bring a zebra or something, or a giraffe. Or
crocodile.
Yeah, sure, why not?
How about a Chihuahua?
Okay, that's
All right.
even better.
By the way, my dog is the worst trained dog on the planet. I'm just
Really?
telling you.
Yeah, it still barks and begs for food every night.
You haven't met my
Doesn't
three
listen to
friends.
a word I say.
Of course, because it's yours. All right. Well, thank you, Brandon. We'll be right back. On air with Tony Sweet, we have Girl Your Soul is Speaking right after this.